Hi guys.
Hi.
How you doing?
There's two prats again.
Oh yeah, you know what I mean. But you probably might have noticed something actually.
Maybe our surrounding.
Oh,
This beautiful fucking massive chair.
I was actually talking about us losing weight, but
Oh, I understand. Well,
it's been really hard. Anyway, today, yeah, we have actually moved house, thank God.
Yep.
And if it's a bit echoey, I apologise because the flat we're living in is fucking massive.
Oh.
It's fucking huge. And it's like high ceilings.
It's well over like 100 years old.
Georgian, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
I'd say it's Georgian.
Love it. We just make the history up. We're like, yeah, Victoria,
Yeah,
Georgia.
it's 1600.
Yeah.
It's got upgraded over the years.
It's dead old. Like Neolithic. So today we're going to talk about plants. In folk magic, we've talked about stones, we've talked about dirt, we've talked about water, and we've talked about plants. And first things first, what I want to say is this is not in any way, shape or form going to be like an A to Z of like all the folklore.
We would be
plants.
here for a millennia.
Weeks. And we wouldn't get paid for it. Which, no. You know, we do it for the love.
Do it for the banner.
Do it for the banner. So yeah, but we will be giving certain plants at the end of it and being like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But this is a way in which you can work with plants within folk magic. So we've got some notes here which Ash has written, which might as well be fucking Egyptian hieroglyphics, bless him.
A little chicken scratching.
Little chicken scratchings.
They're really sorry.
No, that's all right, Bab. We can read it.
But yeah, like we're
just
just basically, there'll be 3 subjects that we'll be talking about. So like you said, it's not an A to Z. It's talking about magical plants. So we'll be going through like gathering customs, offerings, and the actual qualities of the plants and which you look for in your magical working. And it goes on the idea of you're seeing the plant as a spirit too. So what appeases the physical form will please its spirit in the gathering of these herbs.
So, and that was a point you made, like plants are spirits too. And I think a lot of the time we talk about all these sort of gathering customs and people are like, oh, you have to do that and you have to do that. And there's kind of a reason for it, is that obviously there are the religious elements that tend to be tied with them, particularly within folk magic. But also there is the, the belief that the reason why you are gathering these customs is because you are acknowledging ultimately you are a spirit too. Yeah. You are a powerful spirit.
Everything has a spirit.
Yeah.
And also
animism.
Animism. We're doing it to like sort of promote people start using plants within their local area.
Yes.
You don't really need to go out on the hunt for like mandrake or all these tropical plants that don't grow in your area.
Yeah.
There's stuff that grows in the cracks of your pavement, your front garden, your house plants, that you could use and utilize, which we'll go on about further into how you can go about that. So
what is the other one? Local plants for local people.
This is a local plant for local people.
League of Gentlemen.
Oh,
there's nothing for you here. So also this is fucking important, right?
Oh.
So there is a difference between folk magical sort of definitions and meanings of plants compared to folk medicinal meanings of plants. And when you are working with plants, a lot of people think, oh, it's fine, it's a plant, it's nature, it comes from the earth. Belladonna comes from the earth, like henbane, like hemlock comes from, like some of these plants are really poisonous. So there are, and the thing is, there is a kind of bit of a crossover sometimes, but what we are talking about today is folk magic, because we don't really want anyone to die.
No,
from sort of ingesting too much.
That's important. Like there is categories between what is folk magic,
absolutely,
in plants, folk medicine, and herbalism.
Yeah.
Now, folk medicine with folk magic of plants, there's sort of a tie-over.
Yeah.
And this is like in times where people were actually seen as physicians. So, attaching worms would be a part of folk medicine, and also a lot of it would to do with herbalism, but it had like a kind of a medico-magical effect to it. And then what is different is what is herbalism. So this herbalism today is a lot more researched in how each plant has its chemical compound, actually does that thing for what you need it for, like heart complaints, rheumatism. there's a lot of research that have gone into modern herbalism now, where it is proven to do the things that it needs to do. So that is a big thing. Herbalism, folk medicine and folk magic plants versus herbalism is a massive
And this is in no way us giving medicinal plant and herb advice. Like, there are things that we know, but I don't actually think I would even still feel qualified. I'm not qualified to tell you certain things, because I think you could make someone really poorly. You need to be careful. These plants are chemicals as well. They are chemicals. They do respond to the body differently.
And like now as well within the UK, what I know is that if you are prescribing herbs to people now, you have to be qualified.
And I mean, to be fair, in the UK, we have bottles of bleach that actually say on it, "Do not drink." So I mean, but
we are very much more like, on the ball on that sort of thing.
Or also just incredibly fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like the general British public, just incredibly. Please don't drink this.
Health and safety gone mad.
Yeah. But I mean, some people, I'm like, go on, have a look at full series. I'll put you down for the 98%. But gathering customs. So we're going to talk about some gathering customs. So I'm going to talk about one, and then just Ash will talk about another. But there are different. And these are literally just two examples we're giving, right? Because we'll be here all fucking night.
It's a very massive, it is like a skill within itself.
It's huge. Like people call it wart cunning as well. That can be another word people use. But so there is a custom, and everyone's going to know this. But just an example is
a lot of cunning folk in the past weren't specialised in herbalism and herbs, because it's such a big subject and something that you have to be advancing. And a lot of people make that misconception that all cunning folk would have something.
That'd be a thrill, wouldn't it? Can you imagine going to NHS doctor now and they're like, I don't feel well, and they're like, take this plant, but don't take too much, but don't take too little. But like, so how much do I take? But like, I don't know.
You just have to try it.
You just have a try. I feel like that. Gas, just have a gas. So the one gathering custom which everyone will know, but we're going to talk about it, is the mandragora, the mandrake root, whose screams and cries were said to, kill people if it was heard. When it was pulled from the earth, it was said to shriek. And so there are different ways in which people would extract mandrake, but one of the ways in which people would extract mandrake is they would get a starving dog and would typically tie some string or cord attached to the plant root, and then tie it to the dog, and then basically make the dog pull it out. So if anyone heard that screams, the only person that would hear the screams would be the dog, and the dog would die.
Yeah, the dog would die.
But please, don't just sort of nip your neighbour's dog and starve it for a bit, because we're really upset.
No, that's going against.
And there are people that would, there are people out there that would want you to do that, would want to do that for free.
It's a service, the whole service out there.
It's full of them. So just say, do us a favour, donate.
And they'll even dress up as a dog.
Well, this is what I mean.
Brilliant. But I think we even out, you can also, those customs where people used to block their ears with cheese.
Yeah. Oh God. What type of cheese? Like a sort of mature cheddar or a red Leicester?
Something really pliable, soft, but
like a blue Stilton.
Probably a Stilton.
Can you imagine their partners sucking on those lots?
Depends what you like.
So apart from people like pup play and cheese in ears and people licking cheese out of ears, we're going to proceed with plants.
And it's like another example. So the whole idea, again, of plant customs and why it's recorded in law is because you're essentially appeasing the plant spirit, in which it's either going to sacrifice its life or give a bit of itself to you. Because if you don't appease the spirit of that plant won't do its job. Its magical job for you. So, for example, another one is belladonna or deadly nightshade. A lot of a custom was to very heavily working, gathering customers this, because a lot of people would strip naked, dance before it, pay compliments. Even some grimoires go as far as saying that you would have to masturbate in front of the dead nightshade before gathering it.
That's what you was doing the other night when you had your tits out.
Yeah, darling, you shouldn't have been there that night,
Right, you painted yourself gold. It was that good.
She wanted more. She was a hot slut of mandrake. Nightshade.
But belladonna, beautiful woman. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Beautiful lady.
And
beautiful light eye.
Yeah, so you have to woo her. Basically, in folklore, you have to woo her. You have to pay a compliment, and different things like that.
So the other side of it is offerings. So what offerings do we give these plants? What things do we give? Things do we give these plants? Because the thing is, if you take something, you have to give something back.
Yeah, everything's a pact.
Everything's a pact. Everything's an exchange.
Yeah, give and take.
There has to be an exchange of things, and the traditional offerings normally can be offerings of water, milk, and blood. They can be traditional offerings to certain plants. But we actually spoke about this. And this goes back to one of my craft partners that I used to work with when I was in Manchester. He always made the most sense to me because it was so practical in the sense that he said, what is the point of giving like alcohol to a plant when it's going to kill a plant? Like, you should give something back to the earth that will actually benefit the earth, that's something that's actually going to contribute to the earth. And that's when we got talking, like, we have so many plants, like we literally have so many plants. I even
we're still transferring them from our old house.
Yeah, I even actually said to him, should we put all the plants around? And he was like, no, that's really pretentious. And I was like, I'm not pretentious. And he was like, anyway, we're not going to talk about it. But
you've got a point there. It's like, a lot of these old customs, okay, like I've always said, just because it's old doesn't mean it's right. So, there's a lot of information we know and a lot of knowledge we know today that they didn't back then. Like, for example, I don't think I would put lead in a holy well now. Like, they didn't know it was poison.
I don't think I would put lead in fucking wallpaper or paint. That's what the Victorians done.
Oh, I know.
It's just flat Victorian.
It's not corona, it's lead poison.
Oh, shit.
But you know what I mean? So people didn't know things in the past that we know now. So again, people didn't know alcohol was not good for plants. So we do know now. So, and we were talking about that.
You feed off the alcohol.
Even it's cheap wine.
She needs a couple of bottles of wine every hour.
Every hour.
With me, it'd be like, I'll give a chamomile tea.
I think I would be a weeping willow. I just feel like so drunk from people's friends. They're like this.
I think I'd be like, I think I'd be something like an ivy, like something that like wraps its sort of conniving fingers around you and just
killing me softly with my tentacles.
Wants attention, but when you give it attention, it dies. One of the best offerings, which is always freely given, is water. Yeah. Plants love water, and I was saying this earlier. I was like watering our Venus flytraps in the bathroom, and I was like, and our sundews, like Nymphampes, all the carnivorous plants are in the bathroom. We are aiming for a jungle, but I was just saying, really, water is the best offering because it's freely given, and plants love it. Like water can be an offering,
and it's nothing. It comes from your taps. Well, it depends. Some plants do not like hard water, like carnivorous plants.
Actually, though, we're in Scotland and we're more closer to glens, and you don't pay for water up here. Like in England, you pay for water.
And our water's a lot more softer.
It's really soft compared to London.
It's basically rainwater.
Like growing up in London, whenever I go back to London, I drink the water there, and I came out like, it's so bad. Like I break out, like I have spots everywhere. It's rank. Seeds. You can throw seeds to the land, and that's actually what me and Jonathan done. We would throw seeds around as offerings because it makes sense to give something to benefit that land.
And if you're in that season, take the seeds from the plant and scatter them around. Help them do their job. You're giving them. You're helping them out, aren't you?
Go layer picking.
Yep.
Get rid of rubbish. Like, literally get rid of the rubbish. Grab yourself a black bag. That can be your offering. I've done that in the space that I had a relationship with. I would often go litter picking. I would say to the spirits, like, this is my offering to you.
When I lived near Babs Mill, I always knew to bring a bag and some gloves because there'd be loads of there'll be loads of freaking special brew cans scattered around the woods.
I thought you were going to say syringes. I went like really dark with it.
No, but I did see the odd few, and that's a bit tricky to get up. But yeah, I had a brilliant night that night.
Last 3 days, didn't you? Ambulance had to take me away in the end.
Yeah, I was just keep saying poison ivy.
So yeah, loads of other things you can do, like
and I always said, like,
oh, go on, you say this.
Well, I want to say about the fertilizers. Like,
go on.
I always thought, so the best offering you could give a plant is research into what that plant needs in its environment and its fertilize products. So some plants like a lot of lime, some plants like a lot of sand conditions. Research into that plant and see what it needs as fertilizer. You giving them that is the ultimate, or the best offering, because like we're saying, if you're appeasing its physical form, you're pleasing its spirit. It's going to be more inclined to work with you. But yeah,
and go on, you need to say this. I mean, this should morely come under trees.
Yes, one thing that is connected to both wells and plants, which is probably connected now water and our plants now, is the Clute tradition. So a lot of things with holy wells, it is essentially you put a piece of cloth onto the nearest tree by the well, in that you would dip it into the water, and it would be essentially.
Normally it was someone's clothing.
Someone dip into the water and hang on the tree as that piece of cloth degraded. So with the illness. But now, like, people use it in a form of offerings, but we are now not conscious of that. We live in a world where everything is synthetics. So,
including our friends.
Yeah. Synthetic garlic. So a lot of people are not aware of that. So just be wary, like, if you're doing the Clute tradition, make sure it's biodegradable. I mean, you use
I actually use, there's a specific type of dishcloth that you can get that I have done research.
It's cheap as fuck.
It's cheap as fuck. It's like 23 pence.
Yeah.
And it's like literally completely 110% biodegradable. And every time I have done a Clute charm, I have actually, rather than use someone's clothing, because it is full of synthetics, like you were saying, like polyester and all that fucking shit. And what I do is I normally got the person to like either spit on the cloth, or I rub that person's face with the cloth, or the part that may have been afflicted, and then dipped it in that well, or dipped it in well water. If I wasn't near a well, I would use certain well waters that had properties, but that's the water video, and tie it to a tree and leave it there, and it was completely biodegradable. And I would still do that, but there is a limit. Like,
even a single bit of thread.
We went to Avebury. Do you remember after walking the bridge?
Bra straps.
We walked 87 bra straps. Condoms, box. Do you remember the knickers? The shitty knickers. Oh, I'm sure a tree will love that. Oh, what have you got me today? Oh, I have a piece of me coked up knickers.
Well, when I went to the freaking Manlucky Clute well, we actually joked and say one was the pantry, because it was just a tree full of pants just tied to them. And we all know
I like
those pants are synthetic.
I like a nice pair of tight boxers, but that takes a piss. So that is another part of it. But again, let's go into this, because I feel like we're coming. So this is the part that it will is going to have some. I'd like to think the stuff we've said helps people. I don't know if people just watch it for comedy.
They probably do, because they're a pair of brats.
So herbalism, in terms of folk magic, like folk herbal magical properties, again going with the law of Sympathetic within folk magic. How does it look? What does it look like? What does it actually do? So for instance, my plant, Pissy Pants Pauline, in the back,
Oh, she pisses a lot.
She pisses a lot.
She drips on your face.
She does. She loves. She's right dirty bitch. I'm like laying there, and she just pisses on my face. I'm like, fuck. Lockdown's even getting to you, eh? But like,
she's got a weak bladder.
Oh, terrible bladder. She had about 10 kids, bless her. That's not a lie, is it? Because
I've got one of them.
It's quite sad in the end. We gave them all away. So you actually clocked. You was like, actually, the way those leaves looks like a kidney, and because it actually pisses, that would be really good for a folk magical thing for kidney complaints. And I was like, holy fuck!
It discretes. Like if the plant has too much water, it discretes it through its leaves.
And that's not a local plant. That's like comes from the rainforest. It's like a tropical plant, but it's a house plant. And you know, it's a fair
use
point.
It for house magic.
Yeah. You know,
I mean, we don't often piss outside anyway, so it would be.
I don't know. It depends.
Household folk magic.
If I've had a night out, I'm old and a kebab. Chances are,
we've gone camping.
How many times have you seen me drunk? I just flop my willy out anywhere to piss. You're like, George, stop here.
Oh, he's mad. He's
like, this is in someone else's house. It's not.
He's a flashing death.
But yeah, so how does it look? Like, what does it actually
do?
You know, what does it do? Yeah, like, does ivy strangulate? Like we were saying earlier, joking, but it actually strangles things. It actually binds things that hard that it actually creates indents in things. It can actually kill things. It can bind. So if you have a doll, you could wrap that around the ivy and just let that grow because it has that property.
And it's like,
speak to the spirit. Speak to the spirit. Like my cousin always said. Sorry, I'm getting on with myself now. You're like, can't even put word in it. But my cousin always said, she always said to me, she was like, right, fuck all these magical properties. She was like, just lay the plants in front of you and literally ask it, say, what do you do?
Yeah.
What?
Put yourself into trance and meditation state.
And as much as I am also, like, I'm a half and half off, right? When it comes to plants, I'm like bisexual. It's the only thing I'm actually bisexual about. But like, I like look at the folkloric part of it, but I also look at what it does. What does that plant do? You know,
I think that's important. Like, so we can find through folklore books, which we'll go into books at the end of them. That gives you it's knowledge that is passed on through oral traditions, through our ancestors, experiences of plants and what they use magically. But you can also look at it like, so what is it like today's modern medicine, today's modern herbalism? What does it do?
Yeah.
Medically, because if you believe, like most folk magic magicians do, that what it does physically it also does magically. So if it's good, say for example, a plant's good for heart conditions, then that plant's going to be good for a broken heart or someone who has depression. Although they always say magic's not very good for times in the mind. But yeah, for example, so if it's good for heart conditions, maybe it's magical powers within its spirit. It's good for heartache, heartbreak, or when you're broken heart, hearties. Good example, and actually people, has magical qualities for your heart, but also it's people who've used it in folk magic for curing a broken heart. Heartache.
Yeah, and also I remember I used it once for heartache.
Yeah.
Psalm 57, and I had heart ease actually, and that's one of the things, and that worked a treat. And I became a bit of a stone cold hard bitch afterwards. I don't think I've really changed much.
No. It's actually breaking hearts now.
Oh wow! Okay. Wow.
Oh, Queen of Hearts.
Queen of Spades.
Oh yeah. Because he buries them afterwards.
What can I say?
That's what we had to do.
Yeah.
We just run out of space in the garden.
Added junctions out on there. Like a magical thread of
rose west. Yeah, that's what we're doing this video, because we had to plant so many plants with the bodies of your ex-lovers. Now we're an expert, and we're like, You've been alive then.
They call us Fred and Rose West in the magical community.
Yeah, we do.
So the other thing is, where does it grow? Where does the plant grow? So this is a really good story. Everyone's like, oh fuck, he's chatting again.
Oh.
Like, oh, is it going to be a really good story? It's going to bore the shit out of me.
He's such a storyteller.
Yeah. You're like, oh, he loves his own sound.
His hair's just packed with secrets and stories.
So big. But where does it grow? So I actually done a spell, and I can talk about this now, but it was a house moving spell. And what I actually done was, I actually done candles and pin spells, which is another video, but admittedly, every candle and pin spell I had done before, it never worked.
Oh.
Like, straight up just didn't work, right?
Oh.
And I was like, I'm not sure about this, but I was told by the spirits that I work with, candle and pin spell. So I went to the graveyard, and there was ivy growing up the the headstone. And I was told to take that ivy and make it into like a ring, and then place it around my working so that it had the foundations and the connections to the spirit world, because ivy was climbing all over that grave, so it had the connection to the dead.
It pretty much takes over everything.
It does.
And consumes.
Yeah. And the
place.
funny thing was, one of the houses my mum was viewing was actually called Cemetery Road.
And she always has like a little thing,
synchronistic, like omen sign. So it was like, okay, something's happened, and she didn't take that house, but the next house she actually got. But she couldn't stop laughing about Cemetery Road, and at the time I was like, Mum, I kind of have to tell you something, but I can't tell you right now. She's like, all right, don't tell me, because she knew blatantly I'd done something, because my mum does a bit of magic on the side. She was like, no, don't tell me. So yeah, that is a good thing. And the other thing as well, one of my favorite book grimoires ever, is the Egyptian Secrets of Albertus Magnus, or Black and White Art for Man and Beast. And it's basically a book of folk magic. Admittedly, it's where the book Long Hidden Friend, Book of Powwows, took a lot from there. But one of the cures for headache is to take a plant that grows on a statue, but that grows on its head, and that can be any plant. Any plant. Yeah. That can be any plant that grows from the head, because it's good for headache.
And I think I mentioned as well, like, I thought, hang on, wouldn't it be more powerful? It's like, so you have saint images sometimes in graveyards or churchyards, and some of them are not so well kept. So you could take plants that's growing around the image of that same image, dry it out, and you've got that sort of trace of that same image. And it's like what you was talking about headaches. Like, again, like we've been talking about everything else. Anything that has a spirit, anything that is close contact with something, emerges itself within the landscape. It takes on the history, it takes on the landscape, and its attributes are embedded within the land. So, for example, headaches, a lot of people used to take branches from a hanging tree, someone who had hung themselves for headaches or for anti-depression, like, because of that quality that it has. So, just because it has that quality of hanging doesn't mean it's negative. It can be used as a counteraction, like we're saying.
It's actually killed the headache. It's actually killed
because the whole. You're not going to have a headache no more.
That's the point. Like, and should we just go through? I think at this point, Bab, we should just go on to the blogs, because we're going to roll on.
So we was talking about, like, so obviously this is not an A to Z, and we was talking about that, but there is, and I'm writing a little chat book on this, so just putting it out there. But
shameless.
I've always said the two things that you need, and this is about working locally, looking what's in your front garden, your back garden, and moving in your local nature reserves. All you need is a good book, maybe an Oxford's book of recognition of wild herbs, wild flowers and trees. And then a good book on photo of plants. So what I recommend, and
it's a good.
I always brag about it.
I love Old Baker. Because it's good.
I love Old Margaret.
She loves the Baker.
It's the only Margaret I like, not the Murrah.
Oh, don't go to that.
Is The Folklore of Plants by Margaret Baker. Now this is perfect. She's pretty much discovered, like, covers loads of fucking plants going from A to Z in order. It's pocket size. It can go in your bag. It can go in your pocket.
Well, should go on your hikes.
Yeah. So what you want to look is like
next small at lunch, a little bottle.
Yeah, there you go. Go out, have a look.
No, we need a hike. We need a hike.
We need a hike, but not in this weather, Dom. It's a bit cold. It's cold. Although it's mild this year. This bitch is like, I'm cold. I've seen it worse. But like for me, I've got, which was actually I got from my dad when he passed away, was a small Oxford's dictionary, Oxford's recognition of like wild herbs and wildflowers and trees. And then I take this with me. So, I mean, I'm quite knowledgeable.
He is like literally houseplants. He's like, right, so we've just done this. We've separated these roots and we're going to put them in a pot. And in my head, I'm like, oh, it's going to die. And he's like, it's not going to die. It's going to have a couple of lazy bitch days and it's going to bounce back. And fuck, like this guy with plants, like, you know your shit when it comes to plants.
I'm green fingered like my dad. Like a lot of things that I got taught by my dad was like we'd go on walks with the dog. We always brought the Yorkshire Terrier, so we'd go up for walks, and he would be like, "See that tree there? His name's Oak. See that tree? Her name's Willow." And that's how I learned about trees. And then went on to what was edible and what was not. And we used to go blackberry picking a lot and stuff. But yeah, I won't go into that. It's different. But yeah, that's all you need. Like, and I recommend this book highly. She also does another book called The Gardener's Folklore. So that's about farming that other one is about farming customs and gardener's folklore, which is brilliant. So, and if you're a gardener like me, you'll want to get that book. But if not, and you're just interested in just gathering plants in your local area for magic, this is the book for you.
It's a good book. Yeah. It's a really good book.
It's pocket size.
The other thing as well about plants is this didn't even actually come to me. This has only just come to me. We've not even written this down. Is actually growing a plant from a seed. Like you get to know a plant really well from growing it from a seed. Like how does it look when it's a seedling? How does it look when it's in its development stages? How does it look when it's fully blossomed? Like what does a flower look like?
I think
it's
the smell? Beautiful.
Like I know now what belladonna looks like because do you remember the massive belladonna I had when I lived in Manchester? She was huge. I did dance naked though I didn't. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, this is the thing.
I sang to it though. Yeah, I did sing to it.
This is the thing as well. There, it's like if you have grew it by seed, you've nurtured it. That's your baby.
She was on the balcony. I couldn't have stood on the balcony with me Willie hanging out.
Oh no, but the one opposite you used to do.
Oh shit! Yeah, he did.
And they weren't involving.
There was a reason. There was a reason why though, Bab. Because I'm not sure.
I think she had enough sights from the guy opposite you.
Yeah. There's a reason the guy opposite me used to do it though, because I'm not sure at times if that was a man or a donkey.
Like going on track. If you have grown it from seed, from a young baby, they are your baby.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to that, I don't think you can bypass these gathering customs because a lot of the gathering customs, it is about going out in the world and getting them.
Yes.
Whereas like you've already got that bond with that plant. It's your baby. They see you as their father.
And for me, I find something very powerful. And here is this thing that I have literally sown from a seed. I have literally developed. And this thing now is fully grown. And I've literally put all my care and input into it. And now I am going to harvest it for magic. Powerful. That's had all your intention. That's had all your thought into it. So we are going to have to cut this in because I need to start work.
But we'll just quickly go into two documents. So you're going to
that Nicholas Culpeper. So really interesting character. Nicholas Culpeper was basically like a ye old NHS.
Yeah.
So Nicholas Culpeper was sick and tired of seeing a lot of people that were quite wealthy that had access to herbs and plants in terms for like
a lot of physicians were fucking rich,
and he believed that this knowledge should be available to all, for everyone to basically utilize these plants, utilize these herbs, and he created this book, which is Culpeper's Book of Herbs. And even still to this day, the book itself is old originally. It has been re-edited, of course, but the book itself is quite old. But even to this day, I have gone on to foraging courses where they recommend Culpeper's Book of Herbs, and it's incredible. But foragers recommend it. And not only that, Nicholas Culpeper noted down the astrological associations of the herbs. He talks about daffodil in order to prevent witchcraft. I think the house leaf is on there to prevent storms and fires, actually. You know, he talks about actual magical parts of books. A lot of it is like it's repellent stuff to repel witchcraft, to repel, you know, evil magic, things like that.
Well, they would, because they saw witches are very different.
Even like hound's tongue, something like hound's tongue, to like stop a wild dog, you would use hound's tongue on that dog to stop it barking. So there are some actual magical, genuine, you know, some magical parts on there. He also says, oh, this plant is ruled over by the planet of Venus. This plant is ruled over by Saturn. It's a really cool book. And foragers, to this day, if you go on foraging courses, the courses I used to go on, the forager always referred that book.
Which is a good book. One thing we forgot to say about Gavin Glusman's is that's one of the main things as well that they went by. So if it was like say this plant was ruled by Venus, you would do it in the hours or the days or both of that planet. So
which
if there
isn't a point for gathering customs.
So if there isn't like a specific custom connected to it, you can just go by the astrological.
And you can get the astrological hours and days on Google. Like that.
Resistance. There's a good one called Resistance Astrology. I always use that. It's really good. So another one, which is quite old, and it's to do with plants, of course, is known as the Doctrine of Signatures. Now, what we was talking about earlier about what it looks like can also cure. This whole book, which was written between the periods of 1475 way up to 1624, it kept re-editing and republishing by God. Now I'm going to bastardise this person's name, but it's Giambattista della Porta.
Giambattista della Porta. I probably fucked that up as well.
But he's probably a lot better and stuff than me. So essentially, what the book was about was its core values was plants resembling parts of the body was used in herbalism to cure the body parts. So, and also a key was like that they said that God marked objects with a sign or signature hinting to what its purpose was. So, for example, like he talked about, and again, it's like that same period as Culpeper, you know, magic, folk magic and herbalism came hand in hand back then. So he talks about stuff like, for example, you know, so kidney beans, you know, they resemble kidneys, they look like kidneys, they heal the kidneys. Now we know today that is quite true. They have a lot of iron in them, which is good for the kidneys. Chestnut, is it chestnut?
Walnut.
Walnut, you know, it resembles the brain. It's good for the brain. Again, that's been proven right. It has omega-3 in it, which is good for brain power.
Yeah, you said like a lot of it has actually been proven right.
True.
Not all of it. Obviously.
No, not all of it. Like,
but
you know,
a lot of it.
A lot of it has been true, and that goes to the idea that God has marked a sign or a signature, a hint to what that plant is used for. And obviously, that goes in folklore as well, folk magic. So he talks about stuff like the comfrey root. The comfrey fruit is so easy, it can be tossed anywhere, it will safely uproot in any part. It's used for travel, it can safely go anywhere. So it was saying he actually marked that this could be used, put in a bag and carried about for you for safe travel because it can safely uproot anywhere, like a desert, anything, wasteland, a house, a brick. So comfrey root was good for that.
And there's no like limit to where you can go. You can even say like Japanese hogweed, which I love the story of that. Like the Japanese actually gave it to the British monarchy, I think in the Victorian eras, and they gave it to him as like a present, to be like, this is sort of some peacekeeping, but actually,
which is quite pretty.
Yeah, but actually the intention behind it was, like Japanese hogweed actually stops buildings from being built. It actually destroys buildings.
Yeah, British Empire's got a long history of fucking up China. Or
Japan.
Japan, sorry. Yeah. Japan, sorry.
But like literally, like it completely and because it's it burns as well. Like it's literally like acidic on your skin. Like so now there is Japanese hogweed in the wild in the UK where it says there are literally fences. A place where I used to work magically, Charlton Water Park. There were fences saying warning Japanese hogweed, like do not cross. Yeah. Which kind of made me at the time feel like it was like the plant from like Little Shop of Horrors. Like you'd go in and it'd like try and copy. But if you want to fuck someone's house up and you want there to be catastrophe in the house,
hogweed.
Japanese hogweed.
Which is where Hogwarts comes from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's a wart. Hogwarts.
Oh, okay.
That's where the term Hogwarts comes from, Harry Potter. Yeah. But it's like, I always thought it was funny. Like, I'd love to see how she was, like, Queen Victoria admiring this plant, touching its sleeve. It's like, oh, beautiful. And how nice to the Japanese people. And then she's like, fuck!
But yeah, so I hope I'm going to have to go because I'm like late for work already. Self-employed life. So I hope this video helps, and I hope our sort of A to Z of plans. We was going to mention a couple of like, this could be good for this, like mother-in-law's tongue for stopping gossip. We could, but we literally don't have time, which proves the point of
it's about basically
so many plants that we could do an A to Z.
And we just want to give a video which gives you the tools to go out there yourself.
Yeah.
And that are quite basic, and you can do yourself at home. So look at your own back garden. You'll be interested in how many folk magic stuff that you can use for that. Folk magic stuff. How much you can use for your folk magic.
Remember, always plant lavender by your front gate and fall in love wherever you can.
Rosemary.
That's it, rosemary for luck.
Rosemary by your back gate and fall in love wherever you can. No. Not the love part.
Don't fall in love, it hurts. So yeah, over and out, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, and peace.